Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another week of the Runeterra Academy Weekly Legends of Runeterra Tournament. I'm Domcast. I'm joined once again by Rednick. I missed you last week, but I'm glad that we're able to get back on the desk today. How are you feeling?
Feeling great. Last week was fun. I actually got to participate rather than just cast it, so it was fun being able to be a part of the event. I'm so happy to see how fast and how big this whole movement is growing within RA. So it's been good. It's been good.
I'm sure that it was a lot of fun to play last week. We saw a lot of great matches on stream, TDS and I, all of them being 2-1s up until the finals, I believe. So very interesting. We were able to see a lot of decks as well. Pretty unique ones, I think, at that, as opposed to what the first week held that you and I casted, Rednick, which was all of the fun busted stuff like the pirates and the Bandle burn and all that fun stuff, Poke City. But looking at this week, we have some returning faces and some new ones, but also new decks as well. Now, our first match, I believe, is going to be between Fan Sora and Turtle Butt. So, looking at those decks, what are you thinking, Rednick?
I think these decks really showcase the change in meta that the most recent patch brought us. As you can see, Fansora is bringing out the Dragons deck, which is a very strong deck right now, with a little bit of twist with adding the Jarvan, which I think is kind of interesting. I like it. We still see the discard mid range, which even though it's kind of fallen off, I think it's now kind of a safety pick for some people, so I expect this one to last for another couple weeks, depending on what other changes people start to find. And then lastly for Fansor, we have Zoe Lee Sin with only 6 units, the champions, and a whole bunch of spells. So this is a very Lee Sin reliant deck to get a lot of that damage out. So I'm excited to kind of see what this new meta and what these changes bring.
Yeah, the Zoe Lee Sin deck we did see actually a fair amount of last week, and it's always interesting to see how it plays out, especially into some of these more aggro decks that like to punish these weak units, like the Lee Sin Zoe deck, like I said, bring. I think like majority of them are like 3 health or below, so definitely a vulnerable deck. But if you can get it going very strong, the Dragons deck, I also agree, can be very threatening, and a lot of players have taken liberty to ban that, which I really can't blame them, just because of how strong dragons can become if you let them get out of hand. Um, but yeah, the Jarvan is an interesting addition, and I'm curious to see if that comes out, how it'll play around. The one thing that I actually am looking at in depth though is I think it's Turtlebutt is bringing a Teemo Lulu deck with the Bandle tree, but only one Teemo and two Lulus, so 3 champions total as we get into this first game. So I wonder if that deck if that's actually going to see the light of day. But I'm also very interested because I don't think we've seen that take on the Bandle tree uh like archetype yet.
Yeah, I agree. So it does look like for Turtlebutt, we're not going to see that one game one. It looks like he is playing the good old Gangplank Sejuani Plunder mid range deck. And then it looks like Dragons actually squeaked through for Fansora here too. So I actually played against a Dragons deck last week, and by round 5, it was pretty much over. So two fairly aggro decks playing against each other here.
Yeah, if you're not able to deal with those dragons early, they can just become a huge, wide, strong board. But yeah, I'm curious to know what Turtlebutt decided to ban as he leads off with this Crackshot Corsair, really good one drop for this. But looking at Fansora's hand, not too shabby himself. He has two of the Herald of Dragons and his one drop J4 in hand already. So he should be able to, get that J4 out without having to worry about where it is and start using that to help set up his win condition. But Turtlebutt's also got a very strong hand. The Mariah Warden and uh two more of the I can't remember the name of it. Why am I blanking on this? But two more units as well to either go for a wider board or get more warning shots depending on what he's going to look for.
Yeah, Yordle Grifter is always a nice card. Sadly, it is a 4 cost, so he won't be able to play it this time to get that nab. I'm actually surprised that we sacrificed that card for that block. I mean, I guess it protects a little bit of damage, and he had another one, but I mean, you really want to get dragons out as early as possible, and I would have taken the
Hmm.
damage for that one less mana on a dragon summon.
Yeah, that you bring up a really good point. The dragon cards, they're strong, but they're very very expensive. And is blocking saving that damage worthwhile to you in the long run for a dragon deck? And we'll just have to see it as the Screeching Dragon comes out and is going to clear that Crackshot Corsair. Fans are not enjoying those guaranteed guaranteed plunder procs, but when you have two warning shots in hand as Turtlebutt does, then you don't really care because you're getting it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, he already has. He just used the warning shot made by his other one. He has another one in his hand, so he's definitely looking good on getting those plunders, setting up both those champion evolutions here. But we're also starting to see a lot of the dragons in hand. I mean, Fansor having that Shyvana that he can play this round. And then even the Jarvan as well that could come out next turn as well. He's definitely setting himself up for some pretty big damage.
And I just want to bring up this fact that if he was able to keep, if he decided to keep that Herald of Dragons, he could have dropped the Eclipse Dragon this turn 5. This is a 7 cost card normally, and that would have made either the Shyvana a 1 cost or some other dragon card that he wants to play even cheaper. But instead, he's going to go for the Shyvana drop early, which is interesting because I don't think you really want to defend with Shyvana. I mean, you can go for the Mirai Tidecaller, but there's really uh nothing else to block with. You're at too much of a risk to get cleared by anything that Turtlebutt might have in his hand, whether it's a monster harpoon, a make it rain, really anything. I feel like you
Yeah.
would have wanted to lead off with the Dragon Chow and let that eat up some damage, and then play the Shyvana to either clear that or just lose the Dragon Chow in general.
No, I agree, especially because you and I can see that he has the Make It Rain as well as that Parlay, so he definitely does have some of that damage. But I mean, if he's not going to attack, then I guess the risk did pay off for Fansora, and he can summon his Solar Dragon with the 6 mana.
He can summon the Solar Dragon with 6 mana, but I don't know if that's really like the most optimal play. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. But he still has the Dragon Child out. He didn't lose any damage. Very interesting that Turtlebot decided not to attack. He's obviously going for a wide board, but at some point, it's not going to matter because everything on Fansora's board is going to have the sustain and fury and just raw more power in general.
Yeah, and so we did get the dragon out. I was gonna say that I guess the other play would have been the Jarvan, but so the dragon did come out and it ate the other dragon chow, so it got that very early fury proc as well. So that is a monster of a card sitting there at 8/8 that really there's at this point not a lot of ways to deal with it without it costing Turtlebutt a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, it would cost Turtlebutt a lot, and Turtlebutt right now doesn't even have the means to deal with it in his hand. He has the parlay, the make it rain, and that's it as far as spell damage goes. And the one thing that I did not bring up a second ago is that Shyvana technically got 7 damage for free off of the Eclipse Dragon coming through with the Dragon Chow, as opposed to if she struck it herself. So Shyvana's without a doubt going to level up this turn, and Turtlebutt's not even going to try and get chip damage on with one of his Yordle Grifters. He's just going to give over a Dragon Chow for a free Fury proc on Shyvana.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's not a lot he could do with the Dragon Chow, so I mean, just using it as a mindless blocker, can't really
Hmm.
blame him, but I'm surprised he didn't try to do some kind of damage to the Shyvana. I mean, with it having zero attack, it's just free Fury.
Yeah, and if you, I feel like the Dragon Chow obviously is worthless to you as Turtlebutt, but if you could get either the Eclipse Dragon or Shyvana into Monster Harpoon range, that's just very very important for you because that's the only way to really clear these strong dragons once they get going. And looking at Phansora's hand, he has everything he could possibly want. He has each of his dragon cards in his on board. He has J4 uh and Acel in hand, and he just keeps pulling more and more units that he needs to scale into this late game.
Yep, and so we are gonna get the Aurelian Soul Summon right here as well. And at
Very
the
true.
end of this round, unless something big happens, Aurelion Sol will level up as well.
Yeah, and the Asol with the invoke of the Scourge, every single time we've seen the Scourge as an option for Asol's invoke, at least last week, TDS and that was the card that they picked because it just gives you so much value. And like you mentioned, with the Asol level up, that card is now 0 cost. And since Fansor's about to get the attack token, he can drop this Scourge for 0 cost, drop another, and then just lead out the attack. Not even drop a card. He gets the free J4, and now you have 5 attacking enemies for one summon, or 6 attacking enemies for one summon with with overwhelm from this Scourge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with only these fairly low cost units, we did get the Gangplank out, and we do have the Dreadway as well. But I mean, Turtlebutt's definitely a very precarious position. He's gonna need to figure out how to wave clear this board quick, or it's just gonna be game over.
Yeah, and now we're gonna see Fansura open up his attack, and I feel like you have to challenge the Dreadway with the Scourge. And yeah, he's definitely gonna go for that because if you leave the Dreadway out, then you run the risk of all of your units just trading out with these 2 and 3 power cards, which the Dreadway would allow them to do 4 and 6 respectively. So definitely the smart move to pull the Dreadway with the Scourge and lead that off. And looking at the math here, I don't think there's a way out for Turtle, but every single card has Overwhelm. They're all over 8 power, save the Herald of Dragons. But yeah, Turtlebus just popping all of his spells that he can and hoping for something to come out of this. But unfortunately, there's just nothing to happen. Fansora played really well with his hand, and now he's going to take home game 1 with the Dragons versus the Pirates.
Yeah, very, very great start. I mean, we mentioned in the pregame how strong Dragon's deck is, and when it comes together, it just comes together. And by what, round 7, essentially he had everything he needed to take
Just
down that
waiting for the
first
attack
round.
token.
Exactly. So no, I wouldn't say there's too big a surprise with how that one played out. Now it'll be interesting how they can adapt into round 2 here. Do you expect Turtlebutt to run it back with the same deck, or do you expect to see some kind of adaptation?
So it all comes down to what Turtlebutt decided to ban from Fansora. Obviously, that's the one thing that we're blind to from our otherwise omniscient perspective. I think Turtlebutt runs it back
Yeah,
with the the pirates, and it looks like that's not what he's opting for. It looks like he's gonna go for the uh what deck is he looking
it
for? He's
could be
looking
either one. It
for
could
Bandle
be
Tree.
Bandletree or it could be Ziggs Poppy. They
Yeah,
both
no, I
run this card.
this is the Bandle Tree because it has the Mariah Warden,
You're
so
right.
it is the Bandle Tree deck.
So Ziggs Poppy was banned for Turtlebutt, and then discard mid range that Draven Scion was banned for Fansora. So we'll see that Zoe Lee Sin, and wow, drawing 2 of his Zoes, as well as 2 guiding touches. Definitely a very interesting start on the side of Fansora.
Yeah, and the most important pull from Fansora's Open, I think, is the round 1 top deck of this Moon Weapons card, which is key to pulling out some of these cards that you really need to sustain into the point where you have Lee Sin, the Eye of the Dragon. The Moon Weapon can just summon those for 4 mana, but summoning those from your deck without having to pull them is very convenient. And now Turtlebutt actually opting to drop the Mariah Warden is pretty interesting. I mean, obviously he's going for an attack here, but I still feel like dropping the uh the Bandle Commando, excuse me, would have been the better start, just so you have the elusive to potentially threaten a Zoe. But we're gonna see
Yeah,
Fensor go for an invoke here.
let's see. I mean, of these, I would probably go with the Trickster. You want to be stacking those elusives, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's his decision as well. So now you can't even attack with your elusive if you're turtle up because the Trickster will just block it for free. So I expect him to
Mm-hmm.
just keep deck stacking, and he's probably gonna pass this turn.
Yeah, the trickster play is a very smart one because it forces Turtlebutt into a like a standoff, if you will, because Turtlebutt can't really attack with the Bandle Commando because the Trickster will block it. But as long as the Bandle Commando exists, Zoe can't attack either. So now you just have these two elusives sitting on your backline that effectively just prevent the other from attacking. Um, but the Trickster is free to do whatever it wants.
Agreed. And we do see that Turtlebot drew your favorite card. So we'll see how
Ah,
we can play
yes.
around that to start getting rid of some of these higher cost spells on the side of Fansora. Although if you played it right now, it doesn't look like it'd have too big an effect on Fansora's plan. So I wonder how long he'll hold on to it for.
Yeah, luckily he only has 3 mana, so he can't play it just yet. But I feel like you want to play it soon. You want to play it like either the next round or the round after, just so that you can potentially discard a Lee Sin. Lee Sin is, I believe, the second most expensive card because he has a scattered pod. Fansora does at least. That the odds of you discarding a Lee Sin is very, very high. Other than that, you're discarding a Palm of the Dragon, which really, or Concussive Palm, excuse me, which isn't really worth anything for you to discard. For Fansora, it's an okay defensive card. But it looks like, yeah, we're gonna go for the aloof travelers here. On turn 5, this is the first turn you could be able to summon a Lee Sin, so it makes sense to try and, get rid of that card as soon as possible.
Yeah, so no Lee Sin. It was a Pale Cascade that was drawn, and then Concussive Palm, which went away, but not too much loss because he does have another one. So I don't think Fensor is too worried about how that played out. And then we'll see. Now we do have that board stacking we were talking about on the side of Turtlebutt as well.
Yeah, and looking at Turtlebutt's hand in general, we have two mini morphs. So even though the aloof travelers didn't discard the Lee Sin, he still has two more ways to deal with a potential Lee Sin drop, and more importantly, deal with a Zoe that's about to level up because the mini morph will completely reset that 9 out of 10 stacks for that level up because that is something that you don't want to allow to happen because once that goes off and as long as a Eye of the Dragon is on the board, every single card is going to have lifesteal. And that's definitely not an enjoyable mechanic to have to play against.
No, without a doubt. So we'll see next turn if he does decide to shut down that Zoe, or if we even try and go for an even earlier Zoe level up now, because with it being 6 mana, there's really not a lot Turtlebutt can do.
Yeah, the one thing that's been confusing me is Turtlebutt. Since the Trickster came out, he decided not to attack. I still feel like you could attack with your non-elusive cards because that's ways to get chip damage down. Fansora's most likely not willing to risk the Trickster for a card that's not elusive, so that he can keep the defense for Zoe up eventually if the Zoe is able to attack again. But now we see Turtlebutt decide to attack with just two cards, and one of them being the elusive that he decides to trade out.
Yeah, he was very lucky that he drew another elusive, this one that could actually take down the Trickster because of that block.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But is it really worth? Because the flight is a card that you want to be able to Nexus strike, given its passive. I mean, obviously taking down the Trickster would be worthwhile, but the healing touch is going to make sure that that is not something that can happen.
yeah, and the Healing Touch even drew out the Lee Sin as well.
Yeah, and the Lee Sin has come out. The Buster Shots come down, but there's still the twin disciplines in Fansora's hand. He can go for another 3 health to defend this Zoe, and I believe honestly he might have enough mana to get all 10 cards right now. Honestly, down before the Turtlebot can do another thing to answer him because he only has the mini morphs, so he needs to wait till next turn to be able to play those.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Fansora is judging right now. Is he's probably doing that mental math in his head to maximize what he needs to do to get that Zoe level up, or if it's worth taking just the death here and playing the other Zoe that we know he has in his hands. So I'm curious to see what he ends up coming up with here.
I feel like you've already got the Zoe down. You've already got the Zoe stacked up. You're not really going to have another opportunity to get Zoe close to leveling up again this game. And especially with these mini morphs that Turtlebot has in hand to deal with both Zoe and Lee Sin, you want to try and level her up as soon as possible. I'm curious that he didn't go for more cards since he has he had, excuse me, more mana last turn to use, but he must be waiting for something, trying to think of something, or making sure that he has mana for a deny that he now has in hand. Unfortunately, there's no cards to deny in Turtlebutt's hand.
Yeah, I mean, they're both playing this game, I think, extremely interestingly. They're both playing it, I almost want to say fairly safe and passive, but now that the Bandle Tree has come out, now we have that timer on the side of Fansora, so he knows that he has to be making plays very soon.
Yeah, so Fansora has 3 turns at most to win the game. Now, if Turtlebutt decides to play the uh the Demacia Bandle City card next turn, that'll drop down to 2 turns total to make your play. Um, Unless of course the RNG on the Bandle City, not going to get into it. It's on Fansora now to win this game before he just outright loses. And he has the cards in hand to potentially lead him to that. He has burst cards, he has the concussive palm. His Lee Sin should be close to leveling up. Um, and it looks like we're gonna see some spells come out from Fansora to potentially level up the Zoe, or potentially level up Lee Sin.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get the we got the Sleepy Double Trouble, and then we're gonna get the Paddle Star here, so
And
that
here's the
will
level
level
up.
up the Zoe and clear out the elusive.
Yeah, and it's going to give the Eye of the Dragon the required uh circumstances to summon another Dragon Link next round. So every card is going to have lifesteal now for Fansora for foreseeably the rest of the game. And Turtlebutt granted has the mini morph, has these cards to deal with either Zoe or Lee Sin, but he doesn't have enough to deal with all of the cards that Fansora can create. And interestingly enough, Turtlebutt, the Bandle City or the Bandle Tree created the Shen boat card, the Rekindler, I believe it's called. And unfortunately, there's not really a lot of use for that, and it's insanely expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think now we're in a fairly safe place for Fansora. He still knows he's on the timer, but he got both his level ups going here. He has the Stells to stack for Lee Sin, so we'll see. Who do you think he's gonna decide to pull here?
Honestly, I don't think it matters. I think you pull the Aloof Travelers just because it's the only card that can survive blocking the Dragonling. All the other cards will trade out with it. So I believe that just makes the most sense to pull. All the other cards, there's really no difference.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Zoe got played too. I mean, I guess with no elusive blockers anymore, it's the safer
Mm-hmm.
choice. I don't know why
It's
I
just
still had
extra
in my head that his elusive was still alive.
damage. It's just extra damage at this point. The Zoe's done her job. It's interesting that Fansora hasn't played the Moonlight or the Moonlight yet. To buff up one of his aloof cards just to get more damage down onto the Nexus. Obviously, I think he's waiting for something to happen to the Lee Sin, but the only thing that's going to happen is a mini morph, and instead Turtle was just going to let this go through.
And so he will take quite a bit of damage here as well. Let's see. So what? He didn't play either of the two cards yet, so we're still at 3 turns away at this point, but he could summon. Okay,
Two
there's the
turns.
Lulu for 2 turns,
So
but
the upside is that it created an Ionia card the same turn he pulled a Lulu, so still 2 more turns out of the 3.
yeah. So if we get one more attack, then we'll be good here. So this is gonna come down. This is gonna be very close
Mm-hmm.
for either of
Like
these teams here.
honestly, Fansora needs to do a lot this turn. He needs to be able to play the scattered pod so that it can be elusive next turn with the enlightenment so that he has more damage down on board. He needs to win next turn on his attack or else the game is just over thanks to the Bandle Tree that Turtle Butts has in play. Now, from this attack, yeah, Fansora is just going to let it through. There's no really reason to risk losing your board because you need it to attack next turn. You need it to actually be able to do damage to the Nexus and to win.
100%. You know the health doesn't matter. It's all about beating
Mm-hmm.
that Bandle Tree timer. So they didn't have perfect lethal. You need all your units.
Oh,
Why
the
take the
obliterate.
risk?
He invoked a falling comet, so he can destroy the Bandle tree right now. But it doesn't really matter because he has another Bandle tree in hand, Turtle Butt. But it's just interesting that he went for that play
Yeah,
because
now
this
do
is
you
how you would survive otherwise.
No, I mean, obviously we know Turtlebot has that extra Bandle tree. Fansora, all you know is he has 6 cards in his hands, and we're closer to the end game where we know that there's a chance that could be another Bandle tree. Do you take the risk and play that, or do you play one of your other units to kind of focus, guarantee your win next turn?
Turtle Butt
Alright,
come out beforehand and just played 2 Bandle trees. Now this
I
is interesting because he's gonna create 2 cards next turn that are gonna be, I think, the same region.
yeah, so at this point then do you use that obliterate to get rid of the 2 cards so only one is drawn?
I mean, it doesn't. It does, I don't think it matters. It doesn't change anything. You still just need to win on your next turn if you're Fensor. You just there's nothing else you can really do. And letting Turtlebutt destroy some of his cards is like destroy some of his board by summoning this Banal Tree is honestly beneficial to you because there's less things to block.
You're
And
right.
we see that with with Fensor going for a wide board with uh the the tail of the dragons, excuse me. Um, I still think he probably should have led with the scattered pod last turn and just let it become elusive, and then you get another lifesteal card with the dragonling, and then now you have a 6/6 elusive lifesteal. Just to make sure that you have or you have a health bar, and there's nothing else that can really happen to you besides the Bandle Tree winning the game.
Yeah. And then at this point I think I would just open with attack. You have 2 of the crescents for that extra bit of damage. But he's going to go with the scattered pod instead, so that does give Turtlebutt the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
place a
So
card,
this
but
is
with making them all elusive, I think that's the end of it.
yeah that I think that's the play that Fransoro went for, and honestly probably our fault that we didn't catch it, but going for a wide board with the tail of the dragons last turn into this scattered pod is the correct play. It's the smart play so that you now have elusive. There's nothing Turtlebutt can do to block, and it should be the end. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. I mean, that was close, man. One turn away from
Mm-hmm.
the Bandle Tree going off, so that was definitely very good by Fansora to play safe. But even with the -1 damage, they have more than enough to take this one
Mm-hmm.
out. So Fansora will be moving on to the quarterfinals with a very clean 2-0 victory over Turtlebutt.
Yeah, and both of the games really. Oh, here comes the one of the mini morphs, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, it has no. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't have enough of a change, unfortunately. But Fansora really coming out in both of these games and just playing very well, playing exactly what he needed to, and going for the first win condition he found, the first like path to victory that he saw, and honestly, it paid off for him both times. I mean, definitely, I think he did a really good play there in that second game, going for a wide board and then leading into the scattered pod. I totally forgot that like scattered or the Zoe passive was still in effect, obviously, but the scattered pod, since it would be summoned one turn and then gain elusive the next, it wouldn't spread the elusive, but waiting allowed it to spread the elusive, which basically just all but guaranteed Fansora's turn or win in what otherwise would have been the turn he loses.
Yeah, I mean, and that just showcases that mindset that you have to have, where you have to kind of still be calm and collected, even when you see that time where you
Mm-hmm.
know that you're at that end there. You just can't get in your own head, and so he played it out. He played it cool, and it allowed him to get that victory.
Yeah, so congratulations to Fansora for taking that one. And unfortunately for Turtlebutt, that's the end of this bracket today. But we will be taking a short break before we come back with the next round of play for the Runeterra Academy Legends of Runeterra weekly tournament. Stick right there, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll see you in the quarterfinals in just a moment. Bye bye.
breaking through. You feel me too. I still wanna run to you. Am I breaking through? You feel me too. I still wanna run to you. Am I breaking through? You feel me too. I still wanna run to you. Am I breaking through? Am I breaking through? Am I breaking through? Am I breaking through?
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience as we are getting into our quarterfinals of this week's Runeterra Academy Legends of Runeterra tournaments. Oh, I'm dying there. I'm so sorry. How you doing, Dom?
I'm doing all right. After seeing honestly just an amazing matchup in the first round, I'm excited for this quarterfinals. We have a pretty exciting matchup coming up for us this time around. We've already seen him last week, Dante, and who's our other opponent, Nick?
Dante is taking on the Wolf. I mean, both of them have fairly interesting decks, a little bit of meta, a little bit of fun. Wolf starting us out with Ezreal Vi with also a lot of Bandle City. Turning into that Plunder mid-range Gangplank Sejuani, which I think we've seen at least once a game for the last month. And then rounding it out with Thresh Aurelion Soul, which I have not yet seen, so I'm very excited and hope this deck goes through.
Yeah, that Thresh Aurelion Soul deck should be a very, very interesting take on, just a Thresh deck in general, trying to summon one of these big cards early without having to actually have it in hand, or even the mana for it for that matter. Could be very, very interesting to see come out. One issue that I'm thinking of from this deck, though, is that there's not really a lot of high power cards in it. A lot of 1 to 2 mana cards in it with really 3 power at the highest on one of them. But Dante is running some pretty standard stuff. I think the same stuff he ran last week actually. Uh, substituting in an Ionia Rally Elusive with the Poppy as opposed to with a Lulu.
Yeah, and as we get into game one here, it looks like we're getting the Plunder mid-range mirror matchup. So this deck will, or this match will all be about who can stack their plunders quickest to get those levels out of Sejuani and Gangplank.
Yeah, and Wolf Horgu already off to an unfortunate start, having to use the Crackshot Corsair to get the plunder off in this turn 2, as opposed to playing one of his other cards and attacking with it. But still, he's able to get the nab off, which is something that he obviously values more than having the crack shot on board. And Dante going already wide with the Maride Warden with 3 cards.
Yeah, and I like the Make It Rain, which gets the plunder as well as clears 2 of them out. So he's only going to be taking 3 damage here from that
Yeah,
attack. So very good board clear early on for Wolf to kind of negate a lot of that early damage.
especially lucky that it clears out the Legion Saboteur, because that would be a guaranteed plunder, even if it's blocked, if it were to survive to another round. And now we're going to see them basically mirror each other with these Zap Spray Fins, and Dante pulling a, a warning shot while Wolfru pulling a parlay.
Yeah, and we got another Make It Rain to get another plunder going with the parlay. Sadly, can't be used this round because he's out of mana. And then are we gonna see the another Make It Rain come out on the side of? Yep, there's the other Make It Rain from Dante. So literally mirroring each other's actions this turn.
Yeah, and honestly, they're mirroring each other's hands almost. They each have a Yordle Grifter, a Sejuani, a Gangplank. The differences are they have a Warding Shot instead of a Parlay, and a Dreadway instead of another Yordle Grifter, for to round out their hands. But wow, the Nab coming through with a Jagged Hunter.
Yeah, that's a great steal, and I think I expect the parlay out of the side of Wolf here to get rid of the elusive before the attack comes out, but instead he's gonna go for the nab himself. Oof, and it
Yeah,
looks like he nabbed the monster hunter as well.
yeah, that's actually a very, very good nab there. It will be able to clear the Gangplank should the Gangplank come out before it levels up, or it should be able to clear out the Sejuani if his Sejuani takes any amount of damage. And now we're going to see him, or Wolford will also follow with the parlay that you mentioned earlier, clearing that elusive Zap Sprayfin and getting the Plunder proc as well.
Now I'm surprised he's sacrificing his zap here, because I mean, on a deck that doesn't hold many elusives, elusive is a lot of free damage that I think you'd have gotten more use out of versus sacrificing it to a card where he didn't even trade out.
Yeah, I think unlike last round when we saw the Zoe Lee Sin didn't really care about the health bar because they had lifesteal. these decks, they need health just to survive. They need to have as much health as possible because once they get this Gangplank out, once they get this Sejuani out, they're just going to take basically unanswerable damage to their Nexus with Overwhelm and the Frostbite denying any return. And it makes a lot of sense that you're going to sacrifice a card, I think, to just avoid any amount of damage to your Nexus. And wow, the Monster Hunter coming out with the 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 barrel, excuse me, the keg, the powder keg is going to threaten this Sejuani, but thankfully Dante has the the
Level up.
warning shot to level up.
Yeah, the level up, that extra 1 health was just enough to keep her alive. No. That is an interesting play. I mean, I guess using it to clear him out, but if he had something else in his hand, that was a little risky in my mind, using almost sacrificing the Gangplank like that. I was a little worried.
I'm honestly curious why he decided to block at all. I mean, the Gangplank was already frostbit. It was basically nothing to gain from that. You only lose the Sejuani from. Well, I guess you lose it no matter what with the Gangplank ability.
Yeah, I think that, and sometimes, you just have a brain fart. You don't think about certain actions or certain things, and so you just kind of go for it. But I
Mm-hmm.
do like that we have the reverse mirror. The Gangplank getting frostbitten on the opposite turn now.
Yeah, and as we are coming into this turn 7, turn 8, it's interesting to see how both sides boards have sort of played out. We obviously have uh Dante with just this Gangplank on his board, while Wolfhorror has both the Gangplank and the Sejuani. So this could very much be a lethal next turn if Wolfhorror is allowed to get off like a full size attack here.
Yeah, now we did draw the Monster Hunter as well. So he does have the potential to wipe one of these two. If you had the choice, who would you go for, the Sejuani or the Gangplank?
It would have to be the Sejuani. I feel like the Gangplank damage is obviously going to go down no matter what. But the Sejuani is what makes it impossible to answer any of the damage. Like if the with the Gangplank ability, it makes it so that Sejuani frostbites everything on the board. So that way any unit you block with is doing no damage and is just trading out. Or is just dying for no real answer besides blocking overwhelm damage.
Yep, and it looks like Dante. Oh, maybe not. Wait. Yep, so it looks like Dante agrees with you. So he's going to Monster Harpoon the Sejuani here, if he's going to let it go through. Let's see.
I think he has to let it go through. There's really nothing that he can do. Like he will almost lose just from letting it stay. I think there's 11 damage plus the powder keg. Yeah,
Yes.
now he would lose with the abilities that he's casted. There would have been lethal if he left the Sejuani up, and now they're going to trade out Gangplank for Sejuani.
Yeah, which is big. I mean, because now we have someone with no champions on the board, but we still have that Gangplank there. So as it's getting down to the little bit, having a Gangplank and having a crack shot versus having nothing is a very big difference in board here.
Yeah, it's not the best place to be in. The monkey idol is convenient to have just so that you have units to block with. The downside is that Gangplank doesn't really care if you have units to block with. He has a board clear as well as overwhelm. The only thing Dante can really do is either lead off with the Dreadway, which I think is the best plan, so that you have a Gangplank and see what you can top deck to try and survive Wolfhoru's next attack.
Yeah, and then we drew the parlay as well, so I'm going to be guessing that parlay is going to be used on the monkey there just to get some extra damage and almost finish off that, especially now that we have two parlays because he nabbed one and the crack shot.
Yeah, Wolferu honestly just getting a really good board here with the Yordle Grifter and the parlays being stolen, and it's again just like unfortunate. I mean, Dante I think was going for the right play, getting both the crack shot and the Dreadway down on the board so that he has that enhanced damage from both units, but it's the parlay that that Wolf created was just unfortunate.
Yeah, now sadly there isn't anything to execute out with the parlay, so he's gonna use. Oh, he just goes right for it. Never mind. And then with the warning shot to finish it
Mm-hmm.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so with a very interesting board on both sides, and with just that Gangplank staying up was everything Wolf needed to take that first game. That one extra barrel meant the entire world.
yeah, that barrel made a lot of difference, but honestly, it came down to the spells I think that Wolferu was able to find. You know, he was able to pull two monster hunters, nab a parlay, have another parlay in hand, make that extra warning shot. He was able to make it so that he could win the game, even though it wasn't really his attacking turn. And that's sometimes what it comes down to. So I think it's really, really good that Wolferu was also able to set himself up for that with his earlier plays with the Gangplank, with the Sejuani, making sure that he doesn't lose anything for nothing.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're going into round 2 here. So we'll see what got banned on the side of Wolf. So it looks like Dante's going to be running it back with that same deck. And then, see, Wolf has the Olive font from what I can kind of tell there.
It
So,
it's the Ezreal Vi deck, I
yeah, it
believe.
looks like Ezreal Vi. Yep, there we
Yep,
go. Okay.
there's the Vi.
Sad I did not get to see Thresh Ace Soul, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's still the chance Dante can win this one and pull the Thresh Acel out next. Oh wait, no, that's sorry. It's this, that I'm confused. Excuse me. I'm just saying things that I don't understand. But something I do understand is this curious Shellfolk that Wolfhoru has in his hand, along with these Otterpusses and the Conchologist, is going to make for a very, very interesting game, depending on if this curious Shellfolk's actually going to be able to get going, or if Dante's going to steamroll through this game with his plunder.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Octopus cards. They're adorable to me, so I'm glad that we get to see them all come out. But the Mirai Warden there, oof, that's kind of. I mean, Dragon Child is a good blocker, but that's generally not what you really want to be pulling from the Mirai Warden when you're trying to get that plunder off.
It's also a free crack shot proc, so definitely getting some use out of that, thankfully. But like you mentioned, not the best pull that you could get from a Rye Warden. Uh, one of the worst I think is Shadow Fiend on a defense turn. That would be unfortunate.
Yeah, any card that kind of dies after one round when you have no use for it, not the best. Not what you really want to be seeing.
Yeah, but Dante's going to get the plunder proc off, so he will be able to summon the Jagged Butcher as a +1/+1, except for if that was just the card that was pranked.
Yeah, Prank is a crazy card in my opinion. Oof, now those were very good cards, and to get that charge off. So he did prank the Jagged
Ja-
Butcher. Now Jagged Butcher not being able to block is huge.
Yeah, definitely a not feels good man for this turn, because I think the best case would be for the Jagged Butcher to block the ram, but just so that you have less damage coming through the overwhelm. But maybe it doesn't matter that much because you still have that card to attack with. You're still going to be able to get Crackshot procs off for free and make sure that you have the level up for the Sejuani ready when that turn comes.
Yeah, and as of right now, there's no way for it to be immediately traded out. Now, he could trade out with one of his units and go for a Mystic Shot afterwards, but that would cost a little bit extra for just, well, still getting a Crackshot proc off. So, I mean, all in all, I still think that that's an okay trade for Dante, but still, he did. Not having that as a blocker is always just a rough
Mm-hmm.
scenario.
I think it's not even worth Wolferu to spend any extra resources to clear this Jagged Butcher, specifically because it can't block. I think the Mystic Shot would be much better used on the Crack Shot, like we're going to see it used right now. Because if it can't block, then it really it almost is useless because it's only good for attacking, and if you just ignore it, then it's it's not really good for you every other turn. It's only useful for you every other turn.
True, and now we do see the Vi coming out as well. So I would, who would you pull? I'd pull the monkey because you already can't block. The other monkey's elusive, and I'd get that off the board so it doesn't summon more.
Yeah, I mean that makes the most sense to clear the monkey idol off, and that's what Wolfor is going to do. The question is, what can Dante do to turn this around? Because the Vi, I think, is about to level up this turn.
Yep, if he
One more card will do
plays,
it.
yep, there it is. The trinket trade will play, and then no way to stop Vi from hitting, so Vi will hit with 10 damage, and that will level Vi up.
Yeah, so this is definitely a really good place for Wolfhorror to be in, already leveling up that Vi with the 10 power. But, Dante, next turn, he has the Sejuani. There's a way for him to get through this. And I believe it starts with him pulling the Sejuani, or using the Sejuani to pull the Vi so that you can clear off the board. Now, the only other question is, what is a bigger threat, do you think? Is it the Curious Shellfolk, or is it this Vi, if you're Dante? Obviously, you don't know the Curious Shellfolk is coming.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. So we won't see the Curious Shuffle this time. So, I mean, it's smart to kind of, for Wolf to bait out the mana on the side of Dante. Now, we do have the Sejuani coming here. Like you said, we expect her to pull. Yep, there's the pull on Vi. And even with the toughness, Sejuani can still kill Vi this turn.
Yeah, and it honestly goes from a very very good position for Wolfward to be into almost a very difficult position, an almost unwinnable one, because he only has spells in his hand as well as these Otterpuses, and the Curious Shellfolk isn't really going to do a lot. Now, the mini morph coming through, one of the spells in Wolfward's hand is insanely powerful and is going to save the Vi.
Yeah, that was a very good card. I mean, not only does it save Vi, but that's a permanent effect, so we will not see Sejuani returning unless it gets drawn one more time. So now we just kind of need cards to come out that can actually do damage to whittle down this health bar on the side of Wolf. Because we're still just sitting on a lot of spells here.
Yeah, and now that the Curious Shellfolk is out, Wolfward is going to create a ton of cards in hand. So definitely a really good play from Wolfward. Honestly, coming from last round, just saving that mana for the mini morph. It's not a cheap spell. 6 costs is a lot to save up, especially when you're being threatened by a card like the Sejuani. But keeping calm, knowing that you have that card in hand, being able to save for that is a very, very smart play. And the prank coming out, making the parlay a 3 cost. You hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Parlay is almost not even worth it to go for, to do 1 damage and then 1 damage to the Nexus. For 3, I mean, you can use it on the Otterpuss to get rid of it if you choose to not block it, but I mean, that's just a card that's going to sit in your hand at this point.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Vi obviously going for the attack here so she can get the damage down onto Dante's Nexus. The only downside is that Vi is going to be left at 1 health here, 2 effectively since it has tough, but definitely not the best place to be in. There's definitely cards that can clear this Vi now with really out any trouble. Unfortunately, Dante doesn't really have any of them in hand, but now that this Dreadway exists, all of his cards threaten the Vi.
Yep, and you know that he's gonna know that, so he knows he has to do something to
Wow.
make it valuable. So now making the Make It Rain cost 4 mana, that was the right play. That definitely saved at least the Vi for one more turn.
Well, the parlay is still 3 mana, and the parlay will still do 2 to Vi and 2 to the Nexus. Oh, but here comes another prank to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, he heard you talking, and so he knew that needed to be fixed right now.
He's also seen all the cards in Dante's hand.
Yeah, so now I think if I were him, I'd use the Make It Rain, because no matter what, it's bound to hit at least one card with 2 health, and then you can follow it up with the parlays there, especially if you get both of them.
Mm-hmm. So definitely a smart move there. So clearing this board, but okay, I mean that works too. The station archivist creating 2 sump finds in hand, which is a very very good pull there. That's I think four damage worth of spells, or 6, excuse me, 6 damage worth of spells.
Yeah, she's not complaining.
So if you had 6 damage worth of spells in your hand, wouldn't you want to start using that to clear this Dreadway? Because this Dreadway is an insane threat. Now that Dante has mana, now that Dante has the ability to use these spells to clear the Vi, I believe you would want to have a way to clear it, like this turn. But now that you've used one of these, you don't really have enough save the thermogenic beam, but that also leaves you with no mana.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't draw the Vi. I would have drawn the Vi, sacrificed it, and then just resummoned it.
Yeah, like that I think would have made the most sense, but we're gonna see the make it rain here come out, clear the Vi, save the Dreadway, but now we have a Gangplank coming out, and the Sejuani's going to come out next turn. I would have to imagine to make it so that you have both cards available. But we might also just see Dante go for an open attack with the Gangplank and the Dreadway. You know, there's only one card to block. That card's going to die to Gangplank's ability, and then you have what is it, 20 damage coming down on the Nexus in one turn.
We do still have the thermogenic beam, so we can't forget about that. So that could still clear the Gangplank or the Dreadway this turn.
That is very true. It could clear the Gangplank or the Dreadway this turn, and the upside is that for Wolfru is that Dante has no mana to really do anything. He could cast a warning shot. He can still cast a warning shot, but now he's going to use 2 of his 3 mana that he has left over.
Yeah, so he's just stacking the deck right now.
So I don't like this play actually from Dante. The warning shot dealing 4 damage to the Nexus is good. It's great for you as a position of winning the game, but it's reducing the cards you have in hand to Sejuani and one other card, so that every time he plays one of these Autopuses, the 3 Autopuses that he had in hand, and creates one of these pranks, it just makes it more reliable or more likely that uh, he's going to pull these new cards and make them unusable for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
And now he's pulled 3 parlays. He's managed to choose a parlay every time because of the way he only has 2 cards in his hand, and now he's going to do 4 damage to the Nexus. And then he has a warning shot and a mystic shot or make it rain in hand. This is lethal. He has 4 parlays that he created with these pranks. Now he has a mystic shot and make it rain. I'm just now putting it together, and I'm in complete awe. What am I watching?
That.
What am I watching?
That's amazing. I mean, we talked about how strong prank is because it lets you see the other person's hand.
What
But
am
the
I
fact that he's
watching?
drawing everything and drew perfect lethal off those pranks because he just kept getting it, with that being his only choice.
There was
That was
only
amazing.
That was the only thing he could do, and that's literally all he needed to do. What am I watching? I never would have expected that to happen. But Wolfhoru with the 4D chess creates lethal in his hand through playing 3 Otterpusses, creating 3 pranks, creating 3 parlays, using 4 parlays total, as well as a make it rain. No card that was originally in his deck for the win.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
six damage to the Nexus for free out of no. Wow, how did that? What am I? Oh my!
yeah, I mean
I
that was great for him to go for the octopuses, and that all
oh,
started with that predict draw one. We talked about how important it'd be to draw the Vi, but him
I
drawing
jeez, I am like
the octopus instead managed to set up that entire play.
I'm I am honestly just at a loss for words right now. What a game from Wolfhoru. The first game very well played. The second game was too much for even me to keep track of. I mean, that was just some insane like wow. Like I can't even begin to imagine like the steps of like, oh wait, I'm only pulling parlays and I have enough spell damage in my hand and mana to kill him right now. Like,
And
damn.
don't forget, folks, that was just the quarterfinals. We still have 2 more series to go tonight with our top 4 players about to start matching up. So Don't go anywhere because there's still plenty of excitement left tonight. As you can see, by the way, my boy Dom here is kind of losing it right now.
Yeah, it's definitely been a rough one, but stay tuned because hopefully we'll have even more games like that coming at you in just a few minutes.
Yeah, it is a banger night. So we will see y'all. Be right back.
And welcome back, everyone, to semifinals of tonight's Legends of Runeterra tournament, brought to you by Runeterra Academy. I'm Domcast again, still here with Rednick. After what was an insane match, I've been able to collect myself and looking forward to this next one. Hopefully, it'll be as action packed and as exciting as the last one. How are you feeling, Rednick?
I'm feeling great. I'm glad that you're able to come back. We were a little worried about you there, Dom, so we had to kind of take a break. We needed you to come back down to earth after that very exciting finisher, but no, now we're coming into our semifinals and seeing another real big name. So I'm super excited to watch this game. Cephalopod playing against one of our hometown heroes, Stromboli.
Yes.
So
Oh, continue.
I'll say, oh, right, I'll say, Cephalopod is another, for those that don't know, very big name, very high level player, like Akato, who's won a couple of our tournaments here. So, very excited to see another big name player and kind of see how our hometown heroes, how our natives stand up to giants like this. And we shall see that in the semifinals here.
Yeah, in the decks that they're bringing, it looks like Stromboli has Zoe Leeson, Darkness, and Dragons, and then Cephalopod's running Poke City, Draven Scion discard, and a Lux Poppy deck, which we did see a Lux Poppy deck last week, TDS and I, but unfortunately it didn't come out, I believe, at all. So hopefully we're able to see it this week because I'm curious. I'm intrigued to see how Lux work because I honestly haven't seen it at all in use since like Foundation, since the game came out, and Lux was like one of the only cards that worked with like Ezreal.
Yeah, we do have some backseat sleeper knowledge from the main man himself, Hirsch, that thinks that with the buff that Lux received, she's going to be putting on the big girl pants, and we're going to be seeing her a lot more often. So the fact that we've already seen the same deck 2 weeks in a row, I think kind of alludes to the big name powerhouse that our girl is going to be here soon.
Yeah, and curiously, the deck has not that many damaging spells. It's full of trinket trades, pokey sticks, sharp sights, and mini morphs and some concerted strikes. So I'm curious to see what the idea is here. Are you going to play Otterpusses and use the Curious Shellfolk to steal spells from the opponent, or are you going to I'm interested to see how it works, and hopefully we're able to find out. But aside from that, everything else seems pretty standard from both players. I mean, the Dragons deck we've seen, the Darkness deck, pretty standard Darkness deck, and then Zoe Leeson, also pretty standard as far as the card list goes. So I'm excited to get into game, and I'm wondering or what deck each player is going to ban. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that these both have very interesting decks, and so it does look like we'll be seeing the darkness from Stromboli round one with our boy Seth pulling out looks like the Draven Scion the discard. So two
Yeah,
very powerful decks, one a little bit more controlly, one of course, very aggressive. So we'll see kind of how the darkness can mitigate that very early aggro that we will see from Cephalopod.
yeah, and Cephalopod looking out pretty good there with the Draven's biggest fan on the mulligan, the only Draven's biggest fan in Cephalopod's whole deck. So making sure that he gets the Draven out early, very convenient, very good for ramping up this discard deck. You know, the free discards, transferring those cards into higher value versions of themselves. But Stromboli Prince also a really good start. He has that Vygar and two Otterpusses, so he's going to be able to get a wide-ish board as well as have that Vagar next round to start um, stacking up that darkness damage.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And getting the darkness to stack early, getting that level up from both him and Senna is going to be huge for Stromboli to mitigate a lot of this early damage. And so Cephalopod already kind of has to be worried about the low health that Draven has, knowing that the darkness can take him out fairly quickly if it starts to get out of hand with the stacking.
Yeah, and the one thing that Stromboli Prince obviously has to look out for is the potential spell damage that can come out from the Cephalopod deck. Noxus, Piltover, and Zon, known for being high spell damage cards, um, or flush with spell damage cards, excuse me. And Vagar, while he has 4 health, that's not the most, especially into a deck like this Draven Scion discard.
Yeah, we're already seeing quite a bit of early damage. We already got one of the spinning axes for Draven here, so we will be seeing an early bit of early 4 damage come out. And one of, excuse me, one of Vagar's most trusted companions is also going down early here.
And I think that's a very interesting block. Like personally, I feel like I would have blocked Draven just because he has four damage, and then used the Vile Feast to get rid of the Boom Baboon. But maybe he's just not too worried about the health that he's losing right now. He obviously has a lot of ways to end this game, and he ideally is looking at just getting this Vagar out and hopefully protecting it as much as he can.
Yeah, now do you expect the Vagar to be summoned? This obviously not, because the Autopost came out instead, so that made that decision for me. But we do have 2 of his pranks and the Pokey Stick, so I'm curious to see what he starts pranking to start getting rid of. And we do have the Darkness come out to get rid of that Draven early, as we mentioned.
Exactly, and a really good pull now actually for Stromboli to make sure that this Draven or Vagar can survive is the stress defense, which sets your power and health to 1/6. Now, if you're already a 1/4 cost card, if you take some soul damage, you can still survive pretty well because it just basically refreshes your health bar.
Yeah, no, that is a very nice card. The only thing he has to worry about is hopefully the Raven doesn't come after him before he gets his health back up. I mean, we do have another Darkness. We do still have those 2 pranks. So we'll see what he ultimately decides. Now, he can't block the Fearsome, so that's already going to be 4 damage that he takes this turn. So with his low cost cards, that's definitely something that I expect he'll want to clear ASAP.
Yeah, and he does have, enough mana to use the darkness, and yeah, it's gonna come out here onto that fearsome card like you mentioned. It's too big of a threat, too big of a nuisance to deal with just units for Stromboli Prince because he still doesn't have, excuse me, a card that can block it, and the Ixali Sentinel is not really something you want to play just to block with. It's a card that you want to use to potentially just end the game immediately with because of the way that it casts darkness again onto the Nexus. If you already have Vagar leveled up, you're casting 2 darknesses onto the Nexus with 1 move.
Yeah. Now the big thing right now is that because we don't have Senna, nor that Darkness is a slow card and it is not fast. So he has to. He still had to take the damage, but now he can deal with it outside of his turn with his remaining 3 mana. Because there's no way he lets that stay alive.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly, and it's just interesting for what Stromboli Prince is trying to do. Obviously, oh, another Vagar. That's unfortunate. That's not really what you want now that you already have a Vagar on the board. I mean, it's a good thing that if your Vagar gets cleared, you can keep stacking up that damage. But looking at both players' hands right now, as we reach this sort of like halfway point in the game, 6 mana, Cephalopod has pulled his Scion now, so he has that ability to just do a huge amount of damage next turn. And honestly, there's not really a way for Stromboli Prince to try and like contest this. Honestly, Cephalopod could drop either the 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 spider this turn, and then drop Scion next turn and open an attack, which it looks like he's going to go for, and just have an insane amount of damage to lead into this attack.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. But also, Stromboli drew another Ixtali Sentinel plus his Senna as well. So if he can survive the onslaught that this Scion's about to bring to the board, he definitely can get some things moving.
Yeah, the only downside is that I think that it's going to be almost too much for Stromboli Prince because we have this son now. Vagar is going to die now. Stromboli Prince is losing what was potentially his saving grace there. The event horizon would have stopped the Scion from attacking, and then you would have only had to block the Sump Dredgers and the Spider Sentinel or Spider Sentry. So that would have saved you from a ton of damage. But now that you've lost one of these Vigors, you don't have the event horizon in hand. There's almost nothing you can do to stop this Scion's damage. The only upside is that the Scion is not yet leveled up, so there's not that much damage about to come through.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So, but now Stromboli's kind of in that catch-22 spot. He has three good cards that he could play at various mana costs. He sees that Scion and knows that he needs to find something to do with it. So, if you were Stromboli, who would you summon?
You know, that's a very good question. What I don't think I would do is use a Vile Feast. I mean, it obviously creates more cards for you to block with, but since there is the excuse me the chompers, there's not really a that card is just going to get challenged anyways. I feel like I would have led with something that creates a darkness, ideally the Senna, so that you can cast darkness in the same turn. But I think this play that he's gone for is actually also a very, very wise choice. The stress defense, making it so that Scion doesn't really do any damage, and then another pokey stick to clear that last Sump Dredger means that he only really takes one damage, I think.
Yeah, it definitely bought him one more turn, but I mean, we're still kind of in that same predicament. Granted, he has the attack token, but we still have a very strong Scion on the other hand. We still have the potential for one of three very strong cards since none of them got played last turn. And he still has to decide ultimately what he needs to do to stay alive in this game because once Scion levels up, and sadly I can't see exactly where he's at, but he can't be far.
There it
Yep,
is.
there it is. Now we're in trouble.
Yeah, and this is really what I was going to say Stromboli needs to try and avoid, and it would be that to clear the Scion before that it can level up. Because once it levels up, if you kill it, it just attacks again. And now that it has a Captain Farron on board, this attack is huge. It's 18 damage raw with Overwhelm, even if it's blocked by an Exali Sentinel, that's 4, 14, 13 damage that's going to come through.
Yeah, I think this is lethal. Yeah, 14 damage. He has 11 health. Oh,
It's exactly perfect.
yeah. So I mean, he tried holding on. He tried to bide his time there, but I think the Vile Feast over summoning any of the other cards with more health was. I think that he needed to play a little safer. I don't agree with the Vile Feast play, and I think it kind of went downhill after that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna bash on him too hard. I definitely think playing something the turn before and going for the darkness, which I think goes back to that Vile Feast place, because he didn't have enough mana to play a darkness if he played another card. Like if he went for either Exali Sentinel or a Senna, he could have gone for the darkness onto Scion. I'm not sure if they had or had enough damage to kill the Scion there, but something to like handle this incoming damage, or that otherwise would have happened. But still,
Yeah.
aside from that, very very good from Cephalopod, playing to his own win condition, not really getting too caught up with what Stromboli Prince was trying to do, and just sort of playing for himself and playing for his own win, his own requirements.
Yeah, and so sadly, you do not get to see the Poppy Lux. We are going to go for that
Ah,
Poke City, but we are getting a run back on the side of Stromboli. So let's see. You know, this is another very aggressive deck with this Poke City. So let's see if he can find the control he needs to get to that very powerful late game.
and curiously, Stromboli Prince I think didn't attack with the Twisted Catalyzer, which realistically would have been a smart play to do because it stacks the damage off or stacks the damage easily. But I suppose he's just wanting to try and use it twice. You know, block something that only has one attack, which ideally is or realistically is what he's going to do right now.
Yeah, he
And again,
will.
people are trading out the crack shots. Why are people trading out crack shots? Do you not
I
gain more from
was
keeping it?
I was surprised to see the crack shot go down to attack, so it's only going to get one charge off, I believe. We do have the TF in hand here as well. So we'll see what he can start pulling when he summons the TF, because I'm assuming that's going to be coming out this round.
Yeah, and if realistically the TF should just come out right now. I mean, or the Poke Stick, that also works. I was gonna say TF can red card clear that Twisted Catalyzer, or the Poke Stick obviously can come out and clear that Twisted Catalyzer. Potentially, it would have been best to open up attack with the Twisted Catalyzer and try and get like another proc of that ability off to lower increase the damage of the darkness, but either of these plays is still good. He still has the attack token now. He still has cards to attack with, so he will be able to come out on top as far as Nexus health, though, with this attack.
Yeah, and we're probably just going to see the block trade out here. Yup. So, I mean, from someone that had a very full board, Cephalopod is now kind of running on empty. So it was very interesting to see how fast I got cleared out. But the Make It Rain is going to do the same thing, so both players will be sitting on a very empty board and 0 mana.
Yeah, almost back to basically the start of the game. Looking at the cards that both players have now, I think it's fairly simple for what Stromboli Prince is wanting to do. I think he leads with a Stilted Row Maker. If he's trying to get different cards in his hand, he can go for the Lunari Priestess, but I think setting up your darkness is the goal here for Stromboli Prince. And then Cephalopod, um, yeah, I don't think there's anything you can do that's wrong with what you have in hand.
Yeah, he will get that Poison Dart summoned. And then it looks like he's trying to decide whether to attack or not. I mean, the trade out here is going to be nothing. Both teams have both cards, both units. Good lord, both units have more health than the other unit does damage. So it would just be kind of an empty attack here. But it would get him. I mean, it wouldn't even matter if he gets him another poison dart because he has no mana.
Yeah, so just gonna be both players waiting it out. I think Stromboli Prince, I believe, should go for. Okay, well, I was gonna say he should go for Hidden Pathways here if he doesn't pull a champion, but luckily he's pulled that Senna now, so he will be able to start going for this ramp up with the darkness now that he has Senna in hand. Meanwhile, Cephalopod has 2 TFs, and it's almost too risky to play TF now. I mean, you could play TF because you know that that Stromboli Prince doesn't really have a darkness in hand, but the likelihood that Stromboli creates and then uses a darkness in the same turn is very, very risky.
Yeah, I mean, we do get the Ixtali out before the Senna, so now he knows there's no mana. So this is when I'd probably drop the TF because we know that there's no way for him to be taken out this turn.
Yeah, and we see Cephalopod bring the TF from his hand, deciding what card he's going to play. I would have to imagine it's the yellow card onto the Ixtali Sentinel.
Yup, and just like that. So now he can only attack with the 3/4, and like we mentioned last turn, that's going to be a worthless trade, so we're just going to pass it out.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't go for the Senna. I mean, obviously that Senna would be yellow carded all the same, but the if Cephalopod didn't have a TF in hand, didn't have something to deal with Senna, it would have just been a free attack with darkness in the same turn.
Yeah, I agree. And well, I was going to say maybe we see the Senna here, but no, we still don't see the Senna coming out yet, although we do have the darkness only cost a 1, which I think is definitely on Cephalopod's mind. So he knows that he's going to have to kind of do something here.
I think saving the Senna this turn, at least, especially while Cephalopod had that much mana, is smart. Senna obviously has 4 health, but if Cephalopod was able to lead into a Monster Hunter, that would just mean an instant clear for that Senna. And Ingrid Starboyvins has the Rekindler, but it's not something I think he wants to go for just yet. Like, have to deal with setting that play up like another 2 turns before you actually get the Senna out.
Yeah, now I'm surprised we're going to see the TF attack. Yeah, I guess he's not super concerned about it because he knows he has another one. But no matter who they block with, TF will die here.
Well, he does have the pocket aces, so he could potentially make TF a 4 power card, a 4/3 card, so it would clear anything that Stromboli Prince has.
But he ought not to block the TF at all.
Yeah, interesting stuff. interesting stuff. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. Surprisingly though, I feel like, well, I guess it doesn't matter. If I'm trying to think of like how you would clear this Yordle lecture off, but there's really no way you clear the Yordle lecture off. And
Yeah.
Stromboli Prince was obviously fishing for something with the make it rain to clear the Exali Sentinel, but since that didn't happen, he used another spell to clear that off. But now Senna's on the board. They have darkness. Senna can really start being like a darkness generator. Um, but he needs to play this one first before he can create another one, which he's obviously going to do onto that TF.
Yeah, and with him also having Vagar in his hand, sadly can't be summoned this round. But with the Vagar there to start charging up the darknesses, having them both on the fields is going to be very nice for Stromboli. So now this turn, Cephalopod can either play the Gangplank or the TF. So let's see which one. It looks like he's looking at the TF here.
Yeah, it has to be TF yellow card here, or else you just or Senna, excuse me, attacks and creates just yet another darkness in hand. And I was about to bring up that Stromboli Prince sees Cephalopod has 2 cards in hand. Cephalopod has to either start playing aggressively. He has to start like betting against Cephalopod having a card that can deal with the Senna or can deal with the Vagar, and just play like hyper aggro to try and get out ahead before Cephalopod can actually get this Gangplank on the board. Because once that happens, it's a threat to everything on Stromboli Prince's side.
Yeah, and I think Cephalopod's okay with that. That's why he's waiting it out. We're gonna see the Gangplank come out right now. And I think he's got to be close to level. We don't know exactly where he's at.
Yeah, I would have to think that if he doesn't level this, like if he doesn't level up on drop, he levels up this turn. I think that's like the point we're at. Um, and now Vagar coming out, creating another darkness is just super lucky. So not lucky, but super smart here, because Gangplank's going to come out now, and you use this turn to kill Gangplank. You use this right now. You play the darkness to kill Gangplank. I think it has enough damage. I don't know for sure, but you have to get this Gangplank off the board before it attacks.
Yeah,
And I
no,
don't. I guess it doesn't, because he's fishing for more cards.
yeah, I'm not sure what the darkness is damages at, but sadly he is able to get off the attack. And yeah, as I say, I would definitely be attacking with TF as well because nothing can kill it. And then
Nothing will
so
survive. Yeah, nothing will survive blocking it,
yeah,
because Gangplank's ability is going to go off, deal 2 damage to everything, and then nothing has enough health to block TF afterwards. So the only thing that can really happen is Stromboli Prince just uses everything to potentially block. The Pokey Stick actually is a very smart play to get rid of the lethal to all of Stromboli Prince's card, or Senna at least, but there's definitely not it's definitely not a good start, because he's going to be left at like 6th health, I believe, after this attack goes through.
yeah. Well, he does. I'm surprised he's sacrificing the Vagar here. Well, I guess because he does have the Rekindler, so he's not super
Mm-hmm.
concerned. So he'll only lose. It looks like 3 health. I believe I did that right.
Yeah, it should only be 3 health, because the Keg Blast will leave Vagar at 3, and then 6 means 6 in overall means only 3 damage goes through. So it will just be a slightly less devastating trade, but a devastating trade nonetheless. Um, but Senna here is going to actually level up, which is going to make it so that darkness is now costing 0. Which, like thinking about like the play for Stromboli Prince into the next turn, do you attack, create a darkness, and then rekindle, or do you rekindle next turn on open and then darkness and then attack?
Yeah, that's. I mean, we know that there's not a lot of cards on the side of Cephalopod. We know that his hand is empty, whereas Stromboli is rocking a massive hand. So I definitely think that he can take a couple risks here. I think that he is still in a
Mm-hmm.
fairly safe position. He just needs to get rid of that Gangplank.
So I know I mentioned that like Stromboli Prince needs to start playing more aggressive, but even this one card with Gangplank could be devastating to you. It could be this one card is how Stromboli Prince wins, but or excuse me, Cephalod wins, but no, with this drop, Cephalod or Stromboli knows again Cephalod has nothing that can do anything. He's going to use this darkness to level up the Vagar and attack into either darkness on the Gangplank or darkness on the Nexus. I think it has to be darkness on the Gangplank.
Yeah, I agree. Now he does get the augment and the dubious activity, so that'll be good to start stacking. Now, so he is going to darkness the next. So darkness does only do 3, so it's not really worth it to use on Gangplank.
Oh
We
wow.
still need a couple turns of stacking because Vagar hasn't really been on the field, so not a lot he
Oh
can
yeah.
do.
Or Cephalod just lets this go through. So yeah, Cephalod, knowing that he can't really do anything, not gonna even bother trying to stall it out, and gives over this second win to the first win of Stromboli, but the second win in the series to Stromboli. And I'm interested to see how this next game works out because um it will be the Poke City versus either the why I forget
Dragons,
the Dragons or the
Zoe Lee Sin.
yeah. And I would have to imagine that it's Dragons. I'm gonna say Dragons before it comes out. Oh yeah, I got it right. Yeah, woo.
I am shocked that Dragons did not get. Dragons is such a strong deck. I can't believe that it has not been getting banned tonight. That is wild to me.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I think my thought process when banning a deck is like what deck do I need to use to beat the other person's deck, and what deck can I use to beat both like two of the other person's decks? Like what do I have the best chances with? And obviously, like the Poke City deck does really well into Lee Sin Zoe just because of how much spell damage it potentially has to clear out these cheap units, and then there's nothing to really help the Lee Sin win the game. But the Zoe Lee Sin deck does really well into some of the other cards that Cephalopods brought. So
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. I get it. I'm personally terrified of dragons. Now, hopefully Cephalopod uses Make It Rain right now to clear the little chompers. Yep, so bye-bye, food. You will
this
not get
is
eaten by
so
Shyvana.
sad.
But Shyvana can still be played this turn, even without the extra food. So we do see Shyvana come out, which Shyvana coming out on turn 3 when no one has any real meaty units on the field is definitely a little scary.
Well, there is the Jagged Hunters, so there's that will be a threat to Shyvana no matter what happens. So Shyvana can't really go with an attack or a block here and an attack next turn because the the Jagged Butcher will clear it. Realistically, I think you should save the Shyvana and then attack, but
Well, Shyvana will get Fury here, so she will get that extra bit of health.
right, but if she attacks this turn, she will only have 1 health with the Jagged Butcher blocking.
True. Now we do get that early bit of lifesteal out as well. No.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the at least or the TF gold card is going to stop that one in its tracks. But okay, wow, Cephalopod actually let that damage go through completely. So that was very interesting. I feel like I would have blocked that with the Jagged Butcher just so that the Shyvana can no longer block anything.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he took that giant hit as well. I mean, five five attack damage on turn 5 is really no joke. And we do see the Gangplank come out here, but this is still very early. That is not a leveled Gangplank by any means.
This is a very interesting play attacking with the Gangplank. Like you're obviously going to trade out with a Solari Sunforger, but what is the rest of Stromboli Prince going to do? Because he has the ruined Dragon Guard, he has Shyvana, he can block TF. There's no mana Cephalopod has. Yeah, the Stromboli Prince is going to go for the block with Shyvana onto one of the cards, and he's going to clear both Gangplank and TF and level up Shyvana now. So that was a very interesting play from Cephalopod. I want to say almost greedy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely needlessly aggressive. It cleared out both his champions for nothing, and that is a very scary Shyvana.
Yeah, scary indeed. Because, like, honestly, I feel like you could just go and you go dragon, crush dragon egg on Shyvana. You challenge the powder keg, and you're doing 6 damage to the Nexus with no answer, and you're gaining 2 health back thanks to the Dragon Guard.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. Plus, it'll give her the Fury as well.
Yeah, I think honestly, like I think that's the move. Like you crush egg this turn because you're not getting the Acel out anytime soon. You get that 6 damage onto the Nexus, and you're equalizing the health bar. But Cephalopod has another Gangplank in hand. Yeah, I think this is it's so concerning since we are like the third person, the omniscient perspective. If Stromboli Prince decided to wait and Cephalopod went for the Gangplank play, you could have used Confront to kill the Gangplank.
Yeah,
But wait, Cephalopod just lets that 9 damage go through.
I think he's worried about stacking the Fury.
But you can't let 9 damage go through. Now you have so I think Stromboli Prince easily lives through this. He's going to use the strafing strike onto something that's still on the board. Probably, I would have to say the powder keg just so he gets even more health back. But he could do anything. Take it down to 3 or take it down to 2 viable units to attack with aside from the Gangplank. Gangplank comes out next turn. You obliterate it on creation, and then you just have nothing. You're still left with nothing as Cephalopod, and you had the ability to block 9 damage, and you didn't take it, and now Shyvana is left in lethal range. Next turn she attacks no matter what because
Yeah,
there's
and
nothing you can do
the
to keep this
single
Gangplank on the board.
combat, the single combat also just got drawn here as well.
I don't know why Stromboli didn't use the dragon card to gain health back on Shyvana.
Yeah, so as you said, the Gangplank does come out. Um,
Immediately obliterated.
yeah, immediately obliterated. We do still have the two stacked parlay that can clear one of those three
I think it
units.
has to be the Ruined Dragon Guard. I think you have to parlay the Ruined Dragon Guard.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get the impact. I'm just kind of trying to see into his mind here. Like, why did this get done? He has to be planning for something because obviously we would block with Shyvana here because Shyvana is going to get the Fury again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Cephalopod has to be thinking of something.
He's just gonna wait. Why wouldn't he parlay and kill a unit and deal 3 to the Nexus? What? Like the single combat I know is going to come out to deny this. But like, why wouldn't you do the potential kill and 3 damage? Like, well, I'm curious what this line of reasoning is, but either way, this is going to be Shyvana's attack. It has to be crushed egg. You have to crush the egg now.
I mean, I
Like
don't think it
for no
matters.
other purpose, just because you can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, for another reason, but because you can, you should crush the egg. But well, no, now you have to crush the egg because you have lethal. Yeah, now you've crushed the egg. Now you have lethal. And yeah, this is going to be the series for Stromboli Prince, playing an insanely clean final game on the Dragons, getting insanely like great options thanks to the cards he pulled, and using them correctly, I think, is the most important piece because it's so easy for Shyvana to be taken out. Even though she's a dragon, she only has 4 health on drop, and technically she loses health when she should be losing health when she attacks. And there's just so many options that could have cleared out a monster harpoon, more make it rains, more this or that. But realistically, just an insanely well played out game from Stromboli to play to his own success, play to his own cards. He knows what he needs to do to win, and if that gets stopped, like he'll at least have tried.
It was definitely a very clean game from him, but I think almost a confusing one from Cephalopod. It was
Mm-hmm.
letting. I felt like a lot of free damage got let through there that allowed for Shyvana to become as massive as she is. But I mean, sometimes like I said, you sometimes just get those brain farts where you think you might be able to do something about something later, and then it just kind of gets out of hand. But that is Cephalopod going down to our constellation brackets. And Stromboli moving on to our final game of the night, which we will begin soon within the next couple minutes here. So we'll see you guys there. Welcome back, everybody, for our final game of the evening. Two very strong competitors that we have seen earlier in the night. We have returning from our quarterfinals match, our boy Wolf versus the main man who we just saw take down, Self Stromboli. Now, with both these being players that we have seen earlier in the night, what are you kind of looking forward to, Dom? What kind of decks have already stood out in your mind?
So obviously, both players are running dragons, albeit not really, because Wolforu is running a Thresh Acel deck that we weren't able to see earlier, and that's definitely something that I want to see because I'm curious to know how it works out, how that play actually happens. Just because Thresh is always an interesting card to watch, but overall, I think we're going to be in for almost exactly the same that we just saw. Uh, Stromboli play, because we saw Stromboli play against dragons. We saw Stromboli play against a Otterpus deck, so should be fairly interesting. Should Stromboli decide to ban out that Acel Thresh deck, but given that Stromboli also had almost a very difficult time with the pirates, it could be all that much possible that he bans out Wolforu's pirate deck.
Which of course we know is what you want since you've been dying to see Thresh Acel all night.
Yes, I have.
So as we are getting into game one here.
It won't be Thresh Acel. Ah,
So
it'll be.
so we get that Zoe Lee Sin from Stromboli. And then what's our boy Wolf playing out?
Oh wait, is Wolf? Wolf? No, Wolf's playing just the dragons, I guess. No, wait. No, Wolf's playing the. He's playing it. That's it. It's it. It's happening. He's playing the the Acel Thresh deck. He has the Thresh with the Unbound skin. Wow, money bags over here with an insane opening attack. Wow, the Sparkleologist and the Lunari Priestess leading into a Charger for 7 damage turn 2. Just an insane start.
Yeah, now we do get the Zoe out as well, so hopefully she can start stacking that. And we do see Stromboli has that Lee Sin as well, but that is a very wide deck on the side of Wolf. He's definitely stacking a lot of early aggression here.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're Stromboli, you have to go for the Crescent Strike. You know, stun 2 enemies, deny all that much more burst or damage, excuse me. But instead, we're going to go for the Serpent, and I would have to imagine that it will eventually try and clear the Charger. But wow, just another open attack from Wolforu is going to be 3, 5, another 8 damage, I think, from Wolforu on Stromboli. It's definitely not a great place to be in.
Yeah, we cannot argue that that charger did not get its worth here. I mean, 2 attacks off for 7 damage, plus we're gonna get another 5, 6 from the other units on the field, and the Zoe gets traded out. So, I mean, Wolf is definitely feeling very good going into this early game with only 4 health remaining by turn 4 on the side of Stromboli.
Yeah, and that is not somewhere you want to be. I mean, 4 health in general is not a great place, but especially when you still don't have a board wide enough to even like potentially counter. Wolf Horu is just one step ahead of Stromboli Prince. The Lee Sin Zoe deck obviously not full of units to begin with, but when you lose the Serpent, when you lose Zoe, when you're using a Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike just to get another card next turn, that is not really the best place to start off.
Yeah, he's definitely looking very rough here. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he did get the Lee Sin summon because it is his attack turn. So he can use this to build it up, but he's just gonna get obliterated right off the bat.
Yeah, he's he's getting obliterated right off the bat. And the worst part is this is just game. This is oh, excuse me.
Ooh,
I spoke too
nice
soon. The
swap.
syncopation coming out is going to protect Lee Sin from going out just yet. But if that hadn't happened, it would have been game because Stromboli Prince didn't even have enough mana to make sure that he got another Dragon Link next turn. So he wouldn't even have enough units to block to save his 4 health. but he still has 4 health, unfortunately, because he lost that lifesteal. And now with the thresh out, the Lee Sin's at risk too. Ignoring the fact that there's still lethal on the board, potentially
Yeah,
lethal on the board. Excuse me.
I mean, he has. I think he's trying to see what he can maybe put together with the spells in his hand, but I think that this was just a very unfortunate draw on the
Yeah,
side of Stromboli. He just did not get what he needed in the early game, and clearly Wolf did.
I don't even know if it's an unfortunate draw from Stromboli, just so much as a insanely good draw from Wolforu.
Yeah, I mean, he's buffing these cards up, but it doesn't matter. He's hoping to draw something.
He does have the guiding touch. Guiding touch will make him live with 2 health.
Yeah, that saved him from perfect lethal, but only just barely.
He's going to have 2 health after this. He's managed to save both units though, which is very, very convenient. Now, next turn is going to be very, very deciding on how the rest of this game is going to go because he has to clear the Thresh and he has to do something with the Dragonling. Now, I would have to imagine he gives the Dragonling more power, more attack so that it can heal more because that's really what you need as Stromboli. You need more Nexus health. But the Lee Sin leveling up here is actually going to be very, very important for making sure that these boards do not, or these cards, excuse me, are off the board. Specifically this Thresh, because denying a soul from coming out is the only way you're going to be able to turn this game around.
Yeah, so he will get rid of the Thresh here. Unless, yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything I see that can protect him.
Yeah, the one thing that is in Stromboli's favor is Stromboli's now survived long enough for Wolfhoru to unfortunately only draw spells right now. He's played the Thresh, he's played all the other units in his hand. Now Stromboli has this bit of respite to potentially potentially try and turn this game around.
Yeah, I mean he did get back up to 6 health due to the life steal there, and he did draw Trin Disciples, and he has another Lee Sin.
He does have another Lee Sin, but with with you going down to 1 Lee Sin as as Zoe Lee Sin deck against a card or a deck like a Shadow Isles deck, you're usually on the lookout for like a Vengeance or otherwise. But since we since Stromboli Prince can see like the deck list beforehand, he knows there's only 1 Vengeance and only 1 Ruination or 2 Atrocities, excuse me. Like there's the odds of him having it are low, but still there.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't believe he managed to save and survive for as long as he did. I mean, that comeback began with him top decking an extra 2 health. Now this Lee Sin is going to become a giant. So I think, I mean, it's not looking really good for Wolf. He kind of has to figure something out to pull something out here to try and bring it back.
So so Wolf actually has what he needs to win the game. The 9 cost card is a celestial elusive dragon. So since it's elusive, there's nothing that Stromboli has that can block it. And unless Stromboli top decks a stun next round, Wolfhoru should be able to just win the game through that 1 card alone.
Yeah, I
Now
mean,
the
Lee
upside,
Sin.
sorry,
Also, now Lee Sin will do a decent amount of damage here, but that will not end the game.
yeah, 16 damage is unfortunately not enough, and there was no other cards in Stromboli Prince's hand to make it that like that one hit KO. Lee Sin that this deck is all built around because he had to use so much of those cards just to survive to this point.
Yeah. Now we did get the second. We did get another obliterate for Wolf, but nothing so far that will be able to get rid of that Celestial next turn.
And it doesn't even matter that that Wolf pulled the obliterate because he has that 9 cost celestial in his hand. That elusive card is going to single handedly win him the game this turn.
Yeah, because sadly no top deck. So yep, there it is.
It's going to
I
open
mean,
attack.
spell shield, elusive, 11 damage. Yeah,
Mhm.
sadly, Stromboli has no way to stop it. I mean,
And spell
this was
shield.
almost a magnificent comeback.
Yeah, it really was almost the way to turn it around. And oh, nah, I was gonna say the sunburst could be useful, but unfortunately, it won't be a daybreak. So even if it had daybreak, it wouldn't even go through because the spell shield would protect from the silence to begin with, and then it wouldn't do any damage afterwards.
So he
Um,
does have the obliterate, so he needs to
there's still the spell
find
shield.
if there's anything to get rid of the spell shield first.
He has nothing in his hand to get rid of the spell shield. So unfortunately, he's going to try and obliterate it, but this appears to be the end.
Yeah, no spell shield, no way. I mean, spell shield's gone, but no way to stop it, so no way to block it. Yeah, so a very back and forth game that kind of came down to top decking and invoking on both sides. That 2 health to almost begin the massive comeback, and then invoking that 9 cost Celestial with both Spell Shield and Elusive, which almost, if not for the Spell Shield, would have gotten destroyed by invoking the Obliterate.
Yeah, it honestly was such a good play from both such good play in general from both players. I mean, from Wolf Horu getting Strumbly down to that that do or die state to force him to burn resources, and then also from Stromboli to bring it back almost to the point where he could turn it around and get that one shot off. But Wolf Horu able to not panic, able to choose that right card in the invoke and seal the deal as we see Stromboli Prince come back to the Zoe Lee Sin and Wolf Horu going for the Sejuani gangplank that we've seen all too often today.
Yeah, so surprisingly, Israel Vi was the one that got banned instead of the Plunder mid range, but that is the way it turns out, and we're already looking fairly good. Another very good start on the side of Wolfie, but Stromboli does have 2 Lee Sins and a Deny in his hand, so he does kind of have a little bit of that control.
Yeah, and the deny is going to be very convenient for this card. It's like the Monster Hunter, which is the single greatest threat, I think, to Stromboli Prince's deck because it will just clear a Lee Sin if you don't have the mana to give it barrier. So being able to handle that is very, very convenient for Stromboli Prince. But Wolfharu still has an insane hand. He has the Ice Shard, he has the Monster Hunter, like we've been talking about. He has 2 Sejuanis, and he has a Parlay. And all of those can set up a pretty much guaranteed Monster Hunter onto the Lee Sin. If he is able to get the Plunder proc off first, he can, play the Monster Hunter, bait out the barrier, Ice Shard to clear the barrier, guarantee the Lee Sin dies while also burning a lot of resources from Stromboli Prince.
Yeah, so we will see the lifesteal start to come stacking as well, but I mean, the Parlay can get rid of one of them, and the Lee Sin's starting to come out as well. So we'll
Yep,
see what Stromboli can do to kind of start bringing things back here.
the parlay could get rid of one of them, but I feel honestly you just go for the make it rain and hope that it gets both of them,
Or
or you could
just use
go for
ice.
the arch shard. Yeah, I mean that. Hey, it works. I mean, I was gonna say like I would save the ice shard for the guaranteed like whatever, but or not the guaranteed, excuse me, like the clear on the barrier of Lee Sin, but we could use
Yeah.
it to try and clear Dragonlings.
Yeah, and then I. Yep, so there's the Monster Harpoon, so no parlay to get rid of the little girls this time, but. Ooh, those are 3 really good cards to potentially draw.
I think you steal Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is just such an insane card. Like, even though you're not running a plunder deck, like with Lee Sin and the kick, it's pretty easy to get the plunder off, and then you just Monster Hunter something. Even if you
Yeah.
can't get a plunder, Monster Hunter 5 damage is a lot.
Well, and the spell kept Lee Sin alive as well. So that's
Mhm.
another really big thing. But the Sejuani coming out will probably get rid of him this turn.
Well, he still has the resonating strike and the the whatever comes afterwards to give him another barrier.
True. Let's see. So he is going to go for the pull now. Let's see if he goes for the combo to give himself that barrier to keep him alive. No, he's just going to sacrifice it and then just bring out the other one.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You know, save mana, save these resources. Just play another play another Lee Sin. Now, I think opening with the Zenith Blade is a smart move. He has the Zoe in hand, but he should realistically save that for after he gets the Zenith Blade off, obviously to guarantee the draw, but to bait out any spells that Wolf Horu might be wanting to play.
Yeah, so there's the parlay that we talked about earlier. So that
Honestly,
will get rid of her. But he is going to go for the Nopify on the parlay.
yeah, I was gonna say honestly, I think you just Nopify this. I mean, we obviously know he has an Ice Shard and a Make It Rain in hand, but guaranteeing you keep these Eye of the Dragons on board, or at the very best, forcing more resources out of Wolfuru to clear them, is a very very good place to be in. I mean, saving Nopify to guarantee a save onto Zoe is smart, but I think the bait here is also useful.
Yeah, so we do get the Lee Sin level up from this as well, which is definitely very good for Stromboli. I do like that we waited on the Ice Shard for Wolf, because while we know Zoe's in his hand, he doesn't. So when Zoe gets played, that is an answer to her. Speaking of which,
Yeah,
so now
and
he can use the Ice Shard to clear out both Zoe and the other unit from earlier.
yeah, I think that's honestly like the smartest play, saving that Ice Shard, saving the Make It Rain to make sure that you have two potential ways to clear this Zoe. Um, and yeah, just instantly get that off the board and level up the Sejuani, which is actually a very very good place for Ulfor to be in. Now that the Sejuani's leveled up, he has a warning shot in hand. He can potentially frostbite Lee Sin this round. Um, yeah, Lee Sin's gonna go for the pull onto Sejuani, even though he knows that it or no. I was just say he either whoever he attacks, Sejuani could save that card with warning shot and ice or frostbiting the Lee Sin in this turn.
Yeah, it looks like he's unsure. So Stromboli is going to kind of take it a step back, think about what he wants to do.
I think he knows that there's the threat of the frostbite coming out, and regardless of the enemy unit being recalled, he doesn't really want to risk something happening. But now that the Gangplank is out, it's a very, very difficult position for Stromboli to be in. You know, he has the Monster Hunter still, but neither of the cards that Wolfhoru has that are going to be the way that he wins this game can be cleared by that Monster Hunter.
Yeah, we also have the Gangplank barrels and the Make It Rain as well to deal that extra bit of damage, plus the warning shot as well, depending on kind of the way he wants to go. So I'm curious to see how Wolf wants to do this. I mean, he has so many options available to him right now, with it being his attack turn, that I think the ball is firmly in his court. It is definitely his game to lose right now.
Yeah, and you know, just looking at what is here, you know, from Wolfhoru, we have the 2 damage from the Keg Blast. That's going to be denied by Stromboli Prince, which honestly I think is the right play.
Yeah, because
The
it
only
saves the Lee
downside,
Sin.
yeah, but the only downside is that there's still the warning shot. There's still the Make It Rain. There's ways to make sure that the the frostbite goes off, and there is the Fury of the North, which I'm not sure on the math, but the Fury of the North would have left Stromboli Prince at like 2 or 3 health if this deny didn't come out.
Yeah, if you're the North, it's +3, +4, if I remember correctly. So that
hmm
leaves that's a huge amount of damage here. I'm surprised no blocker at all. I guess just wanting to keep that Eye of the Dragon alive. But Gangplank's gonna get a lot of damage here.
Yeah, Gangplank is going to get a lot of damage, and the Fury of the North coming out onto Sejuani is curious. I guess he's going for the Make It Rain and trying to pop the yeah, trying to pop the barrier and get the frostbite off. So
Yep. And Sejuani will live, which is the big one. Sejuani
mhm,
was going to get traded out.
yeah, Sejuani would have been traded out, but he's going to actually live. But Shamboli Prince has 4 health and no Lee Sin, so this game I think is pretty much over.
Yeah, he really does not have a way to come back in. We have that warning shot that will do, plus to make it rain. So I believe that's one. So he'll have 1 health left, but he did heal it back up to 2.
Yeah, I mean, healing it up to 2, also getting the draw. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to really find what he needs. Okay, wait. So he was able to pull the Fey Folk. You should
But
attack
he's
with
not
this
going to attack with
realistically.
the Fey Folk.
I feel like you need to have played the Fey Folk and attack with it
Yeah,
because now you're
and
gonna
then
get
Make
Make
It
It
Rain
Rain.
is going to clear out both of them. So then he just open attacks next turn, and that's it.
He open attacks next turn no matter what, and it's a like even if the Fey Folk and both of these cards were out, I think it's still there's nothing you can do. But we are just sort of waiting for the end at this point.
Yeah, sadly, Stronghold does not really have any kind of answer here. So he is going to put out the Fey Folk, which will give him a little bit of health.
Well, if it were able to actually damage anything, because the Gangplank ability will clear that.
True, you're right. Because it summoned another
So wait, how did
bear.
the I think I missed it. How did the Yordle Grifter get overwhelmed?
Oh, he just used Zenith Blade.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. But yeah, I guess we're gonna see the concussive palm come out as well as the spell shield on the fake will be able to give Shamboli Prince a couple health back, but
But it won't matter
it
because of the
it won't
4.
matter.
Yep. And so Wolf taking a very strong 2-0 over Stramboli there. I mean, it never felt like Wolf was in any kind of scary position. It felt like he was just in control that entire game. He knew his advantages, he knew what he wanted to do to win, and he did exactly what he needed to do to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a very, very smart game from Wolf Horu both times being able to pull out this easy 2-0 victory. I mean, he made it seem easy, but still, knowing what we saw from both these players throughout the day, we know they're both competitors, and unfortunately, this is just the way it works out in the end. Still, congratulations to both of them for making it this far. It was just a pleasure seeing them both play. And I believe we should be rolling to a an interview.
Yeah, we do have the winner of the night, our boy Wolf, coming in. So Wolf, to start it out, how does it feel to, make it this far and then to win it all? How are you feeling right now?
And this sensation feels so good because I don't have much time to play for my job. So staying here and get the first place is a really, really a good sensation for me.
Awesome, awesome. And we saw you play twice on stream, play really, really well. Out of the decks that you played, which one did you run that felt like was a free win?
Well, it's hard to say if one of my deck was a free victory because all of my deck needs a bit of strategy and a good movement. Yeah, and the good luck factor. Playing SB, you need really really good luck to target Jeppe Sejuani, you need a good timing to get the perfect line of cards. And the last deck, you need so much to resist the combat with your enemy.
No, for sure. When we are talking about how collected you felt that you knew your win cons and you were playing to them perfectly, you played against a lot of really strong decks and competitors tonight. What was the deck that you were kind of afraid of the most going into the games tonight?
Dragons.
Yeah.
sorry, dragons, because dragons it's too complicated to take the round, the fights. The dragons increase his attack and challenge and your stage kaboom. It's hard to say a good match with dragons. So my focus was, well, ban dragon, ban dragon, ban dragon, ban dragon.
No argument there.
All right, and for the last one, do you want to give a shout out to anyone tonight before we end it?
Well, obviously, the Pandex sport, because that was my team, and I know this tournament because Foreto say me, "Hey, well, Foro, you want to play this tournament?" I say, "Oh yes, I can." So my special greetings is for Foreto, a good member of the team, and all the people who share me, because I'm a random boy who play this game as how much that's the beta edition, and it's really awesome. I really love this game, and all the people who share me, I give you so much love.
Well, thank you so much, Wolf. We're really glad to have you here tonight, and we hope to see you again in the coming weeks. Dom, anything else before we close out for the night?
Once again, congratulations to Wolf Horu for taking this one home. And honestly, this was just one of the best nights all of them that I've seen so far from the Legends of Runeterra tournaments. We were able to see some of the most exciting games, I think, of all of the tournaments that we've hosted, all the games that we've watched on stream. So I'm just really glad to have been a part of it. Um, and yeah, once again, congratulations, Wolf Horu, for playing just an insane game today.
Thanks for you and all of the community who create this awesome tournament. Really, I want to participate in the other tournament because it's pretty fun. It's like midnight, but I really love to play this. So, guys, you rock.
Well, thank you so much, Horo. Well, I can't think of a better way to end it. So, on that note, y'all, you guys have a wonderful rest of your night, and we will see you for the next tournament.
Sure, see you later.
Peace out.